Welcome, 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 welcome. We'll just wait for the people to join in. Let's see what's going on. Welcome, welcome everyone. I see people will be joining in very soon. So I'll just hold on for a little bit before people join in because we have a very important and amazing podcast interview today. I would say, I would just start with this is just an amazing, great day to start the spring because we'll be learning some amazing things from a super celebrity. I mean, I've done podcasts before, but this is something completely different. The reason being, we'll have someone who's done things that nobody even imagined were possible. So I'm super excited. I'm stoked to actually learn myself and then share this information, knowledge with all of you. So Philip Dang is saying, what's up? Hey, Phil, how you doing? We're having a great time. We're actually super excited, waiting for Mr. Steve Sims to join us. He's the author of this book, Bluefishing. I don't know if you've read this book. The book is called Bluefishing, The Art of Making Things Happen. If you don't know Steve Sims, check him out. He is amazing. He's going to be joining us very, very soon. Right with you, sir. Patrick says, Patrick, hey, how you doing, brother? Really excited to have you. Looking forward. And this is going to be an amazing podcast interview. We'll go around 30 minutes or so. And we'll be interviewing one of the super celebrities, Mr. Steve Sims. He's the author of the book Bluefishing. And so I've read this book, and this book is phenomenal. This has changed my mindset so much in how I perceive about things, how I perceive life. And the biggest thing this book has done is broken down the walls that I built around them. And there's a chapter actually dedicated to it. But we'll be having Mr. Steve Sims join us very soon, and we'll be asking him a few questions. He should be here in a couple of minutes. I'll just see if I see any comments. I see a couple of people online. Welcome, welcome. How you guys doing? I live in Northern Canada, so today's an amazing day here. You know why? 2018 will change everything. Mike says that. In fact, it definitely will, Mike. I mean, with the devotion you're saying, I'm sure your life is taking a big turn in 2018, a big positive turn. So looking forward to that, looking forward to seeing what's happening in your life. I've seen Mike's news feed, and he's doing some amazing things as well. So we're just waiting for Mr. Steve Sims to join. He's going to be here very, very soon, and we'll be doing an amazing podcast, if you want to call him that. I like calling them live interviews. Just waiting. As soon as he comments, we'll invite him in. Mr. Steve Sims, he's the author of the book Bluefishing. Bluefishing is the book Mr. Steve Sims actually wrote last year. It came out in October 2017. I bought it in November. And this book is phenomenal in making a shift in your mindset with any area of your life. Your relationships, health, whatever you want to deal with. This book has it all. And it's called The Art of Making Things Happen. If you don't know who Steve Sims is, just write his name in Google and you'll find so much cool and amazing stuff. We're just waiting for Mr. Steve Sims to join in. Just waiting to see if he's online. Here we go. Here we go. Man of the hour. He's right here. I'm adding him in. I'm super excited. Here he is. Mr. Steve, how are you doing?
I think I'm doing fine, thanks. Pleased to meet you, man.
Pleased to meet you as well. Super excited. You know, I was just, before I get into introduction, I was telling all the people who are watching right now that, you know, I've done live interviews before, but this one I'm super excited about. And the reason being, I'll tell the reason as we move forward into the interview, but I'm super stoked. I'm super excited, and I'm feeling very, very honored to actually be talking to you right now.
It's a pleasure, pal. Really is a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, I mean, people who are watching from your Facebook feed, they of course know you very, very well. But before we get started, people who are part of my audience, do you mind if I do, I know this introduction that I do for you won't be enough to do what you do in life, but I'll try to make an effort to describe a little bit of what you do and who you are.
Go for it.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So Steve Sims, Mr. Steve Sims' day job is to make the impossible possible. His job is to make the impossible possible. With Steve's help and expertise, his clients' fantasies and wildest dreams come true. For instance, getting married by the Pope in the Vatican, being serenaded by Sir Elton John, and connecting powerful business moguls like Elon Musk. These are just a few things that Steve Sims has done. If you read his amazing book, Bluefishing, you'll find a lot more what he's done. in that book. And so Steve has been featured in Forbes. So, and to summarize, right, if I start talking about the accomplishments that Mr. Steve has done and what he's done in his life, it will take us at least an hour, 2 hours, at least 2 hours to just talk about that. But to sum it up, Steve Sims is the man that can make anything impossible possible. And so Steve has recently, I believe last year in October, your phenomenal book was released. The book is called Bluefishing. And in that book, Steve reveals some of the secrets on how he does what he does. And this is the amazing golden book. This is my favorite book that I've read to date. It's not one of those books which has like 600 pages. It's not that thick of a book, but this book is solid, amazing knowledge. So I don't know if you guys read it, but this is one of my all-time favorite books now, Bluefishing by Steve Sims. Steve, how are you doing? I believe you were in Texas. You were traveling a little bit for a couple of weeks when we were connecting. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. I was over there. I was doing a speech with a group from a mortgage company, and it was all about the art of communication.
Right.
And it was good to meet. It was good to meet different people with quite simply the same issues and problems. So it was good fun to get over there and get them out of the way of themselves and to hopefully give them some impact that they've been profiting from.
Right. So Texas must be hot at this time of the year. Super hot, right?
It wasn't too bad, but to be completely honest with you, I arrived in the hotel. I did my speech. I had dinner. I slept in the hotel and I left for the airport. So I don't think I actually ventured out into the heat for 1 second.
Okay.
Maybe between the Ubers, and that was about it.
Okay, good to know. I was in Houston last year in November, and I live in Northern Canada, and it was super hot. I was sweating the whole time. But, I know you're super busy, so I don't want to take a lot of your time.
Okay.
I know your days are super packed and super busy. So if you don't mind, can we dive into some of the questions that we had prepared? We were wondering if we can ask you.
Go for it. I tend not to look at the questions because I want to give you a unscripted gut answer. So
Right.
Jump into the questions.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So in some of the earlier chapters of your book, this very amazing book, Bluefishing, you talk about how you left your family trade. You used to be in your early teens, I believe, in mid-teens, you used to be a bricklayer, and how everyone in your family had adopted that trade. Most of the people in your family were bricklayers in East London, I believe. Then you go on to mention that your father was a little bit disappointed in your announcement of leaving the trade. You decided that you won't do it anymore. You want to do something different. So the few follow-up questions I have are, how did you come to the realization that you will stand out and pursue something different than what your ancestors and what your forefathers were doing for decades? And how did you deal with the expectations from your father? Because, everybody's doing it. Their expectations from our parents. I see so many kids these days follow the footsteps laid by others, by their parents, by their family members. So what advice do you have for them? Because I think this is something people are struggling a lot.
Well, you actually had 3 questions there.
Right.
So the first one, how did I stand up and leave what was already predetermined for me? How did I handle that? What made me want to do that? I knew I didn't fit in where I was. And that was the aggravation. That was the friction. I knew where I was. Bricklaying wasn't for me. I didn't know why. I just knew it wasn't. And like all entrepreneurs, we don't quite fit in certain aspects. And it was that aggravation, it was that agitation that made me know that I can't be here. I was doing something that was creating a rub. I knew the downside, and this leads into your other 2 questions, that for me to walk away from that because it didn't fit was going to upset my family and going to upset the expectations. Now, you have to bear in mind that a lot of our parents, depending on your age, a lot of our parents came from a time where you got your job, you stayed with your job, and you worked up the ladder. Okay?
Right.
We're in a situation now where our kids, 18, 20 years old, in the next 5 years, they may have 20 jobs. It's a different time. It's a different mentality. In the old days, you stayed put. Today, you go where's best. You jump around. You could be in a company for 6 months. It suddenly makes $10 million. You're out of a job, and then you go and start your own company. We're also in a situation where from pre-century, 1980s and 1990s, if you were called an entrepreneur, it was because you couldn't get a job. It was almost a rude word to be calling someone. In the old days, in the 90s, if you were called a hustler, that was disrespectful. It was almost slander. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and a hustler, you're Elon Musk, you're Richard Branson, you're Bill Gates. So you're revered. Entrepreneurs are now recognized as those weird shapes that don't fit until they do. And it's a lot more acceptable now. So in the early stages, it was very tough. I think it's a lot easier now. My daughter went to college and she literally just turned around and she went, "It's not for me. I don't fit." And I was like, hell, that's fine. I didn't fit. How can I ask you to fit? So it's a lot more acceptable now within the generations we have now. But then there was a lot of heated conversations. There were a lot of quiet conversations, but there was most definitely a lot of conversations. It was not an easy thing for me to do. I'm just very thankful that for some reason, the strength was in me to keep going with it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah, no, totally. No, that's amazing. That's the first question actually. When I was reading this book, that's the very first question I personally asked you. I remember I sent you a message because that's something people struggle with a lot. So now, do you have any piece of advice? So for people who are in this dilemma, they're saying, "Hey, I've gone to school for 4 years, 5 years. My parents kind of like pushed me into this area. I'm done with school, but I don't really fit in. But there's so much investment. There's 4 to 5 years, 6 years of investment into that, but they don't really fit in." What advice? Because people just live in their dilemma and they keep on doing what they're doing and they don't, even though they know they don't fit in, they don't move out. What advice do you have for these people?
I have 2 pieces of advice, and you also find that it's very cultural. The fact that neither of us are American, we very much more understand the European mentality.
Right.
And we do very much understand and respect the different cultures. The family try to guide their offspring, their children, into different avenues.
Right.
And sometimes that's a rub. Sometimes there's friction. That's where you've got to confront it with transparency and honesty. And you've got to say, look, I respect what you've done for me here. You've got to be able to take the responsibility as well. Just like my daughter, she said that I can't go to college anymore. But hey, I'm going to pay for the college that I used. She took the responsibility, and now she's trying other things. So if you're going to change direction, if you're going to change route, first of all, you've got to have the strength of character to stand up and acknowledge that's not for me. Secondly, you've got to take the responsibility to go, hey, I recognize what you've done for me. I'm going to acknowledge that by paying you back the money or incorporating it into what I am doing, but I'm not going to take it for granted and turn my back on it. So you've got to realize that. But at the same time, any parent that has their kids now in school and education, with so many things changing, not on a 5-year basis or a 10-year basis, but almost on a 6-monthly basis. Anything that we're seeing today, bearing in mind, in a year's time, we may be getting Ubers that have no driver.
Right.
We may be going. I went to a restaurant the other day in Japan. I walked into the restaurant. I got served coffee. I got served food, and it was all generated by a conveyor belt and a robotic arm. I never spoke to a single person. It was an AI restaurant, and it was very gimmicky, and it was very fun. And I knew it was very fun. But then I came to a restaurant here in America, and it's the regular chain. I think it's called Chili's or something. It's not exactly highbrow cuisine, but I walked in there, and there was an iPad, and you flicked through the iPad, and you pushed the food you wanted, and then that got sent to the kitchen, and then a waitress came and gave it to us. But quite simply, the robots are cooking the food now. Sooner or later, it was going to come out by conveyor belt. So everything is changing, and it's changing really, really fast. Right. For us to expect our children not to be able to adapt and edit and change as fast as everything else is changing, is almost bad for us as parents. So you have to confront your parents and just say, look, things are changing. I need to change. And just have the strength of character to be able to do it. And I respect that culturally, that's a tough thing to do.
Right. No, that's such an insightful answer, because I was just hoping you're gonna give the top layer, but you went all the way down. And what I really heard was taking responsibility ourselves. Like, you know, if there are kids in the family, kids taking responsibility themselves, and then strength of character. I think those two things really stand out. And if the parents have given those things and ingrained those things into the family culture, it's going to be easy for the kids to take action, right?
Yeah, it's got to, I think the key there is the communication. You've got to be in a relationship where you have open, transparent communication. If you don't, you've got bigger problems of what you're going to do for a life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Amazing answer. Thank you. Amazing answer. That's something actually I've struggled myself along my life, and I see a lot of people, especially from the culture I come from, or even in North America. I think that's going to help so many people. So with that, I'm going to dive into the second question, segue into the second one. In your book, one thing that I loved in your book, you know, I've read this book. It's an amazing book. It's definitely an amazing book. But one thing I loved, I'll tell you honestly, one thing I truly loved that nobody talks about. I've read a lot of personal development books, self-development books. Nobody talks about that, is this very concept, and I'm going to talk about this in this question. You discussed this phenomenal concept of the chug test, right?
Yes.
So first of all, the first question goes like this. Would you please mind explaining this, what it is? And secondly, so many people, I see almost all the people in this world are working environments and taking on clients, if they have a business or any kind of consulting company, that they would not do business with if money wasn't involved. If money was involved, they wouldn't be working with these people.
Yeah.
How do you feel this is affecting our soul? How do you feel this is affecting our inner peace? And then, is it worth it to spend time with these people? And if it's not worth it, why is it not worth it? So I think I've kind of asked you 3-4 questions.
Yeah, you've asked me 3 questions again, and I'm going to go in reverse. It's not worth it. It's a cancer, and I'll explain the chug test. So there was a moment in my life that I was making a lot of money. I was dealing with some great clientele. I was living in Switzerland. I was traveling the planet, sending people to amazing events, getting them into amazing experiences. And I started to branch out and focus on the money. Now, I was already making good money by doing what I enjoyed doing. But now what I was doing is I was putting the money first. Now, hey, we all want to make money. But the second you start focusing on the money rather than the substance, you change. And I noticed that once I started focusing on the dollar bills and the pounds and whatever it was at the time, I wasn't caring about who gave me the money. And I then suddenly one day realized that I ended up with a lot of clients that I actually didn't like. And I was making money, but it was making me upset because all of a sudden, instead of me having fun with my clients and enjoying what I did, I didn't know these people. And it actually made me very ill. It made me very sad. And, you know, very embarrassingly, I got drunk. And, you know, I got drunk for about 3 days. I went into a dive bomb. And I remember coming out of that, and I just thought to myself, who do I want to have a drink with? Who do I want to chug a beer? You there?
Yeah,
sorry, I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought to myself, I want to be able to have a drink with somebody. And I came up with this concept, a really very basic concept. If I don't have the comfort to wish to have a drink with these people, then they shouldn't be in my life. If I'm not comfortable enough to go, hey, I'd like to chug a beer with you, or I'd like to have a coffee with you, something as primitive level as that, maybe they shouldn't be in my life. Now, it's very primitive and it's very silly, but all of a sudden I started looking at my life and I started looking at my accountant, my printers, my cleaning lady, my staff, my team. And I thought to myself, there's people in my world that quite simply, we make money and we work together, but don't really connect with you. We don't share any passion. We don't love things the same. We don't have anything in common.
Right.
And I made a decision to get them out of my life. So I did. If they didn't pass the chug test, I cleared them out of my life. And do you know the funny thing that happened? As soon as I started getting rid of bad people out of my life, the people that were in my life got stronger, got happier, got brighter, and more people were attracted to that. And I suddenly found that I was having more good people in my life, no bad people in my life, and no cancer. And if you talk to someone that you don't enjoy talking to, when you get off that phone call, when you get out of that meeting, you're physically drained, you're tired. And what happens is you've tried to adapt to that person that you don't really like, that all of a sudden you talk to someone you do like, and you carry that negativity over. You carry that cancer over into a relationship that is good, and all of a sudden that person starts getting a bad vibe for you, and that relationship starts going down. Believe it or not, bad relationships you should look at like cancer and cut them out. You can't solve them with a pill or a tablet. Cut them out of your life. That's the chug test. Just get them gone.
Get them gone. And it's a tough decision for a lot of people, and a lot of people struggle in life for this very reason.
Oh, it's tough. No, I'm not here saying that this is an easy thing to do. It gets easier the more you do it. But in the early stages, you think to yourself, my God, I've had this person in my life for like 6 months, 5 years, 10 years.
Right.
You know, and the worst ones are people from school. You've known them for like 20 years. And then you suddenly wake up one day and go, do you know, we've never really got on, but we're still in the circle together. Cut them out. If you imagine a bucket, in that bucket are people that shouldn't be in your life. You get them out of that bucket, it gives you more space to have the people that should. So get rid of those bad energy and bring the people with good energy in.
Good. Awesome. Amazing. As I said before, I've read a lot of books. I've heard very few people talking about it, and I've never heard that concept and read that concept except in one of my all-time favorite, Bluefishing. With that, let's not take a lot more of your time, and let's dive into one of the last questions, which is, your whole life is built on passion. The way you talk, you exude a lot of passion. The way you talk, the way your voice is, the way your persona is, you exude a lot of passion. So many people, however, these days are drowned in the very concept of the quickest method of making an incredible amount of money. They just want to make a lot of money yesterday. However, you wholeheartedly, and also in your book and in your life, propagate following your passion. In fact, there's a chapter in your book. There's a very chapter in the book. It's called No Passion, No Point. So what is the importance of pursuing your real passion? Again, there are 3 questions involved in this question. What is the importance of, as you could tell, I ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
What is the importance of pursuing your real passion? That's the first question. The follow-up is, what is actually passion? You know, we hear this all the time. It's kind of like passion has become this word, this fancy word, which you see all over the internet, and people have lost the meaning of what passion is. So if you could define passion first, and then what is the importance of pursuing your passion? And lastly, the third problem that even people who know what passion is, struggle with the most, how to find one's passion. And there are so many people who are confused about it. I mean, I would say more than half the word.
So let's try and answer those. First of all, passion equals effort. And if you exude a lot of effort into something, 9 times out of 10, there's no passion in it. Because the thing about passion is it's like a fuel. It's like an adrenaline. You're so pumped up on something, you can just keep going. There's no effort. You know, it's an adrenaline. If you're having to force yourself to do this and get this done, and that has to be done. Yeah, I'm working on that well, but it's making me tired. There's no passion in it. So if you're doing something that the end product makes you smile, makes other people smile, excites people, then that's a buzz. That's an adrenaline. It gets you really, really excited. And the effort's gone. So a good friend of mine, Joe Polish, talks about ELF businesses. Easy, lucrative, and fun. Right. If you can find an ELF business that actually marries that, easy, lucrative, and fun, you can keep going forever. If you've got friction, if you've got rub in anything you do, eventually it will wear you down, it will wear out, it will crack, it will break. So if you're doing something that you're good at, but you're exhausted from doing it, it's not really your passion. If there's something that you look forward to doing, that you're energized while doing it, without realizing it, that's your passion. If you don't know what your passion is, just try different things. Try cooking, try painting, try writing code on a computer, try singing, try dancing, try fashion, try consulting, try writing a book. All of these things will identify what you're good at. There was, it's funny to quote, but Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder, the lead singer of Pearl Jam, actually turned around and said, if you want to know you're any good at painting, paint 1,000 pictures, then you'll know. So just try something. That's how to identify your passion. But then when you truly identify it is when the effort goes, when it's just so much fun. I could make phone calls all day. I could have meetings all day. I do have meetings all day with incredible people to do incredible things because each one generates an adrenaline in me that leads me into the next one. And it's exciting.
Interesting. So what you're saying is when somebody follows their passion, it's
easy.
Easy.
It becomes so much easier.
So then what do you think? Okay, this is not really here, but as you said, I'm going to ask you one more question. What do you then think about this concept of grinding and hustling? Like, it kind of like sounds like that people are taught that they have to force themselves to do it, just grind, just hustle. How does grind and hustle resonate with effortless following your passion? Like how does the dynamic work?
Well, the hustle used to be an insult. If you were called a hustler in the old days, it was an insult. To me now, a hustle is when you kind of get up and move and get things going, and you're hustling, you're keeping things going. I don't think grinding and hustling should be together. Hustling is movement, is momentum. Grinding is friction. And again, now I know it sounds funny, but you can see in the background I've got motorcycles.
Yeah.
When you ride motorcycles, you want to make sure that every element of that motorcycle has no friction. Because any element of the bike, whether it's the chain, the suspension, the frame, the brakes, if there's friction on a bike, it causes it to slow down, it causes it to wear, it causes it to break. In your business and in your life, if there's any friction, if there's any grinding, get rid of it, because all you're doing is getting ready for a break or a stumble or an issue. And we don't want issues. So grinding, out the way. Hustling, good on you. Everyone should learn the art of hustling.
Amazing. Awesome. Perfect. So I know you're super busy and you were so gracious and you were so generous to offer your time. I know your life is as very evident, like you're following your passion, you're busy, you're doing things. Every day is a new journey, new excitement. And you were so generous to offer your time. And so before we part ways, I know a lot of people are watching this podcast. And so for people who have not read it and you want to better your life, you want to make a change, what we've discussed today is not, I would say, it's not even the icing on the cake. This book has a lot of golden nuggets. No, seriously, it does. Because
thank you.
This book is a big shift in the mindset, especially the first chapter when you talk about putting down the walls, like, changing your mindset, changing what you think, and not going with what's been taught to you. So this is an amazing book, really made an impact in my life. And I'm so grateful to you for taking the time out. And, you have all this knowledge in your brain, but making an effort to actually put it out in the world, that's phenomenal. So really appreciate you doing that and appreciate you taking the time out.
Thanks, pal. Look after yourself and just do some action. A brilliant idea with no action is just a waste of time. So the whole point now is just to do something. Hustle, find your fun, and enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Sims. Appreciate your time, and you have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Take care.